favorite bookstore in town that my friends Jennifer and Victoria created.
I mean, I have embossers for my personal letters, my business.
They're great.
I make hot breakfast most mornings for the kids and my husband.
I'm not an artist, I didn't like art class. I don't know who it's going to be for, but I know that I need to get it. It's called Furoshki. This is a masala daba, that's what this is called. I always want to be able to share it with someone who would appreciate it.
Oh my God, episode 3 of With Love, Meghan was supposed to be this sweet, heartwarming collaboration with none other than Tan France from Queer Eye. But let me tell you, what we actually saw, total cringe fest. 7 whole moments of Meghan desperately scrambling for Tan's approval, like begging for validation in ways that made everyone watching squirm in their seats. I'm not kidding, it was almost painful. From the overblown gift-giving theatrics to her "look at me, I'm so cultured" performances, the desperation was dripping from every single scene. And the saddest part? She didn't even notice how obvious it was. Tan, being the ultimate polished pro, kept it cool and polite. But his subtle restraint, that told us everything we needed to know. By the end of that episode, it was so clear. Meghan wasn't trying to connect with Tan as a person. She wasn't interested in who he was at his core. No, she was chasing that celebrity stamp of approval. Every moment screamed, "Please validate me, Tan." So let's break it down. Here's every single desperate attempt she made to impress him, and trust me, each one just backfired harder than the last. Moment 1, the bookstore bragging disaster. The cringe fest kicked off right from the beginning. All she had to do was pick out some children's books for Tan's kids. Simple, wholesome, sweet. But oh no, Meghan can't just do something normal. She turned it into a full-blown performance about how connected and important she is.
My favorite bookstore in town that my friends Jennifer and Victoria created.
She couldn't just say, "This is my favorite bookstore." Nope. She had to name drop and add, "My friends created it." Like, girl, really? We get it, you've got fancy friends who own businesses. But the way she emphasized ownership, it was so transparent. She wanted Tan to think, wow, she only shops at elite, insider places owned by her circle. Instead, it just came off as desperate. And she didn't stop there. Oh no. She launched into this big philosophical rant about the art of gift-giving, as though buying children's books required some higher cultural authority.
A friend is coming and they have kids. One of the best gifts I think you can give is the gift of story.
She delivered that line like she was unveiling the secrets of the universe. But let's be real, she was just picking books for kids. It was painful. She packaged basic generosity like she was teaching a masterclass on human connection. And then, to top it off, she forced this awkward connection between a children's book character and her own dog.
Gotta start with It's Only Stanley, also because it looks like Guy.
It felt so staged, like she was scrambling for any personal tie to make herself seem quirky and relatable. But here's the thing. Real hosts don't need to manufacture connections like that. Their natural personality shines through. The whole bookstore scene summed up her entire approach. Nothing could just be. Everything had to serve her image. What should have been a sweet, thoughtful gesture turned into a calculated transaction for celebrity approval. Moment 2. The gift-wrapping lifestyle guru act. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, Meghan moved on to wrapping those books. Now, wrapping a gift? Cute, quick, thoughtful. But not for Meghan. She turned it into this dramatic showcase of her so-called sophisticated taste. She kicked it off by declaring, "I think half of the joy of the gift is the presentation." She said it like she was dropping some profound psychological truth, instead of just pointing out the obvious. Then came her pièce de résistance, her embossing tools. Oh yes, she had to bring out these little gadgets like they were ancient artifacts from a royal treasure chest.
I think half of the joy of the gift is the presentation.
The way she hyped up those custom embossers, you'd think she invented them. She wanted Tan to be floored by her exclusive yet affordable touch. But it was so contradictory. Was she going for luxury chic or relatable mom next door? She couldn't pick a lane, and she didn't stop at just showing them. She had to prove her embossing credibility. "I have embossers for my personal letters, my business, everything." Like, girl, chill, nobody's interrogating your embossing resume. The whole thing was so unnecessary. Tan France, who literally works in creative industries where custom details are everyday stuff, did not need a lecture on gift presentation. She thought she was impressing him with lifestyle knowledge, but it just exposed how insecure she was. This was the theme of the episode. Meghan confusing performance for connection. Moment 3. The domestic goddess breakfast theater. Now let's talk about her breakfast charade. What was supposed to be a casual cooking moment turned into Meghan's audition for Best Mom of the Year. She couldn't just whip up some French toast. No, she had to turn it into an emotional showcase about her magical family morning.
I had these embossers made online. They can be super affordable. These both say "From the library of," and you can emboss the inside of their book.
She delivered her line with such pride, like cooking breakfast every day was some rare Olympic-level accomplishment. The whole thing screamed, "Look at me, I'm not like other moms, I'm extraordinary." And then she launched into the pancake story. She went on about hiding nutritious ingredients and how her daughter asks for freckles on her pancakes.
I have embossers for my personal letters, my business.
They're great.
Cute? Sure. But staged? Absolutely. It felt like a rehearsed anecdote designed to prove her parental superiority. Then came the cherry on top, her philosophy about food presentation.
I make hot breakfast most mornings for the kids and my husband.
But it's not as complicated as people think it is. This is so
Again, she couldn't just do it. She had to explain why it reflected her parenting values. It was all about proving she goes above and beyond. The problem? It wasn't about creating a pleasant moment with Tan. It was about proving she was better than every other mom out there. And Tan? He just looked politely amused, probably thinking, wow, this is a lot for French toast. Her desperation to dazzle him with her domestic goddess act just missed the mark completely. And just when you thought Meghan might calm down, she dragged Tan into arts and crafts. Yes, apron decorating, simple, fun, lighthearted, except Meghan just had to turn it into a showcase of her global knowledge and artistic authority. She couldn't just say, let's paint some aprons. Nope. She had to act like she was the queen of fabric decoration, dropping little nuggets of wisdom like she was teaching a masterclass. And then came her big reveal, vegetable stamping. Yes, celery, potatoes, oranges, as if she'd uncovered some groundbreaking, never-before-seen artistic secret. Her nervous little laugh about getting celery said it all. She knew this looked basic, but instead of owning it and keeping it fun, she tried to pass it off as innovative. Honestly, it was giving elementary school art class, not creative visionary. And then because she can never stop herself, she launched into her artistic background. On one hand, she claimed she had the expertise to teach these techniques. On the other, she admitted she wasn't actually very good at art. So which is it, Meghan? Are you an art authority or not? The contradiction was so awkward. She wanted the credit without the skills, and that tension made the whole scene painful to sit through. And then came the over-the-top stamping demonstration. Potatoes, citrus, whatever she could get her hands on, presented like revolutionary creative techniques. Her excitement was way out of proportion to the actual craft. The whole world can do this, she gushed, as if Tan, an actual fashion and design professional, was going to fall over himself in awe. Spoiler, he didn't. That's the thing. Tan has lived and breathed sophisticated design his entire career. Watching Meghan explain potato stamping to him was like a kid showing finger paintings to Picasso. Sweet, but unnecessary. Instead of engaging him, asking about his expertise, or turning it into a fun bonding moment, she positioned herself as the teacher. It was another performance, another desperate attempt to look worldly and creative. But to everyone watching, it just screamed insecurity. Moment 5. The manipulative masala daba gift. Oh, but we're only halfway through the cringe. Because then came the gift. And not just any gift. Meghan's pièce de résistance, the vintage masala daba. And honestly, this was her most manipulative, desperate stunt of the entire episode. She couldn't just hand it over with a smile. No. Meghan built an entire emotional backstory, painting herself as this intuitive, thoughtful goddess who buys perfect gifts years in advance. The way she told it, she just knew when she bought it a year ago that someday she'd meet the perfect person to receive it. And what do you know? Magically, that person turned out to be Tan France. Convenient, right? But she didn't stop at the story. She dragged it out, spinning this whole tale of how she discovered the item, how special it was, how destiny had led her to this exact moment. It all sounded too good to be true, a little too rehearsed, like she wanted us to believe she'd been carrying around this rare treasure, just waiting for Tan to enter her life. And when she finally unveiled it, oh, she went all in with cultural context, research terminology, and emotional delivery. It was textbook Meghan, overplayed, over-researched, and dripping with performative sincerity. She wanted to show she respected Tan's heritage, that she was culturally aware, that she was oh so thoughtful. But instead of feeling authentic, it reeked of calculation. And here's the kicker. This wasn't about him. This was about her. Every word, every flourish, every dramatic pause was designed to make her look intuitive, generous, and sophisticated. It was less about giving and more about extracting validation. She wasn't saying, here's something I thought you'd enjoy. She was saying, look at me. Look how thoughtful and culturally aware I am. Don't you think I'm impressive? The saddest part? You could see her waiting for his emotional response, practically holding her breath for him to gush. But Tan, ever the professional, stayed polite and restrained. He smiled, he thanked her, but he didn't give her the outpouring of validation she was fishing for. The whole masala daba spectacle revealed the truth. Meghan doesn't do generosity. She does manipulation disguised as thoughtfulness. Now, just when we thought Meghan had maxed out on performative hosting, she whipped out her cultural knowledge card. The next desperate stunt, turning simple gift wrapping into a global, enlightened performance. She couldn't just wrap Tan's gift. Nope. She had to present it as if she were unveiling sacred wisdom from centuries past. Cue her big Japanese furoshiki demonstration. You could practically hear the emphasis she placed on that carefully practiced Japanese term. It was like she wanted everyone, especially Tan, to know she'd done her homework. And of course, she had to tie it back to a sophisticated friend who apparently introduced her to the practice. Because heaven forbid it seemed like she just Googled it, but then she took it too far. She didn't just show the technique, she launched into this whole spiel about sustainability, environmentalism, and the philosophy behind it. And that's where it went downhill. She reduced a deeply traditional Japanese art into lifestyle blog buzzwords. It wasn't about honoring the culture, it was about making herself look progressive and eco-chic. Like, look at me, I'm saving the planet with scarves while respecting Japanese heritage. And then, because apparently this wasn't enough, she started giving shopping tips. Did she really just tell people to buy dollar store scarves for a centuries-old Japanese tradition? Yep. She did. The disconnect was glaring. What's meant to be thoughtful and intentional was turned into a DIY Pinterest hack. From the carefully laid out blanket to the strategically timed sunset, it felt less like a hangout and more like an Instagram photo shoot. Everything screamed, "This is my grand finale. This is where I lock in Tan's approval." And sure enough, she couldn't just relax and enjoy it. She had to start fishing. She basically begged him to acknowledge her effort. Real hosts don't do that. When you're truly generous, you don't need applause. You take joy in making someone comfortable. But Meghan? She needed Tan to say it out loud. So now it's your turn. What made you cringe the hardest? The bookstore brag, the manipulative masala daba, or that final staged sunset desperation? Drop your thoughts below, because honestly, watching this episode was exhausting. And hey, smash that like button if you couldn't handle the secondhand embarrassment either. Subscribe because trust me, the next episodes only get messier. And don't forget to hit that notification bell because the celebrity thirst we're about to expose, it's only just getting started.